Okay.
Okay,
That sounds good.
because he is like getting us really off track. But I just want to say the show is being recorded and will be available on the website eventually after it's after I
Awesome.
put it on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so live on the air here at Radio Elko, it's Elko Happy Hour, and we are doing a conference call with Jeffrey and our very special guest, Christa, in the studio.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hi.
All right, so we were going to talk about some nutrition, and I was going to bring out something that I have used in the past. Ouch. Well, let me go get that. But first of all, I'm going to hand it over to you two for a second. I can't be the only one hosting the show.
Okay. Well, we got
We're gonna
several
put you-
hosts here, so I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll
we're
be
going to
okay.
put you all on the stickers, on bumper stickers.
That's funny.
I'm just kidding.
I don't deserve to be on a bumper sticker, Allie.
So you guys are in Santa Cruz?
No, that was Derek. We're in
okay.
Elko, Nevada.
Oh, okay. That's so funny. He's in Santa Cruz. It's like where I'm from. Very strange little town.
I would love to be in California if it was the way it used to be.
Yeah. I hear you.
I grew up
feel like
going
my
to
whole
San
life
Jose and
I've
San
always-
Francisco.
San Francisco's painfully bad.
Yeah.
I remember San Francisco when I was a kid, though, and that was super cool. I used to go there to visit my great grandmother, and times are different. I've seen videos of what has happened to it, and I'm so sorry.
It's always had a really weird, strange, dark vibe, because a lot of people died there. There's in the earthquakes and the fires in the 1800s and stuff. And there's just been a lot of strange, it's like a reset city. It's a city much older than they tell us. And a lot's happened there. And I've always gotten a weird vibe from San Francisco. LA's strange too, but San Francisco is really weird. Last time we went up there, we were joking about seeing poop everywhere. And we actually did see poop everywhere. It was pretty wild. It was weird because we didn't see any homeless people, but there was still poop everywhere.
Weird.
Very weird place.
Nasty.
Yeah. So we're talking about nutrition today.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about protein because I was under the impression that I have this stuff that I've been using. Do you know Dr. Schultz?
No.
No. But so it's 100% plant protein, but it has now. I wanted to compare this if you guys both know how much. So this in one scoop, which is I'll show you the scoop size. Let me see how much protein it has. There you go. So a single dose, which is one scoop, has 20 grams. But so I know the audience can't see this, but here's one scoop. So how much, if I had one scoop of meat, how much protein would this much meat get me compared to 20 grams that this gets me, right? And what is the difference? And go ahead.
I'm an endurance cyclist. Me and my partner, we race bikes, off-road, on-road, 120 miles, 130 miles sometimes we do in these races. And so when you get your body that in tune, you kind of figure out pretty quickly what works and what doesn't. We've been brainwashed by marketers that we should be basically doing lines of protein all day and mainlining it. And, it's a bit much. Protein is important, but you don't need to be eating hundreds of grams of it a day, especially if you're not like a child who's growing or a bodybuilder. Everybody, we've been trained by marketers to eat, to just focus on protein and the high protein diet, when really it's pretty detrimental to our health. I would ask why you would need to be supplementing 20 grams of protein at once at any time, especially if you're eating a whole foods based, whole food plant diet. And I just, on the bike, the more protein I eat, the more it slows me down, the more heavy I get. Because if you aren't actually like doing bodybuilding, protein converts to fat when it just sits around. And a lot of people just like they're pounding the protein powder, or people that are trying to lose weight. It all depends on what you're trying to do. I am training myself to do these races, and I want to be as light as possible and as strong as possible. It's all about power to weight when you're racing a bike. But if you're trying to lose weight, you should absolutely cut out fat and protein as much as possible. And I just and then also the environmental impact, the harm done to the planet, using meat products as your protein source is much higher. There's more karmic inventory a person gains when they're eating several animals a day. And I'm doing a debate later on today with a lady who, one of the early adopters of the carnivore diet. She made bone broth popular, and we're getting into this subject quite a bit today. I have some links here. The meat board, the meat. Let me pull it up. The meat. There was a study that the meat. I forgot the name. Let me pull it up. There was a study by Big Meat, basically, the meat and dairy industry, trying to
Cutting out
downgrade, trying to prove
out a little bit.
scientifically that that protein from plant-based sources is insufficient compared to meat-based sources, and they actually debunked themselves because they found out that it's exactly the same. They did a study in middle-aged women on bone density and muscle density across several different protein
You're
sources.
Cutting out a little bit. Did you build something up on your computer? Because you just started cutting out.
Am I here still? Hello.
Cutting out.
Hello.
No, check 1 2. It's still cutting out. And we can get the gist of
Cutting
what you're saying, but what happened just then? Something happened. We lost the
check.
Now it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, we heard most
so,
of it.
The meat and dairy industry did a study to try and debunk plant-based protein. For one, all protein on the planet comes from plant-based. There's no such thing as meat-based protein. Protein is all plant-based.
Well,
so
where's the kind that it's like protein from, right? Is a green. I've seen beautiful people on the planet who are carnivores, and I've seen beautiful people who are vegans. I am neither, by the way. I do not eat any animal products. And I don't drink milk and I think it's gross, and I don't eat eggs, but I don't consider myself a vegan because I think there's a lot of packaging that goes along with that, as far as like cow farts or whatever, and it almost seems like a psyop. But I wanted to let Christa have a go at, because she is looking absolutely beautiful on just a straight carnivore. Is that right, diet?
No, I'm not strict at all, but I did get a hold of my sugar addiction through the carnivore diet. I didn't do it for very long. I quit, I cheated, I'd go back to it, and it's just kind of something that's helped me to feel full and to be less into my cravings for carbs and sugar. So my up and down journey has been just always fighting the addiction of the sugar and carbs and processed foods. So as a health person starting out, I got into every different book I could read at the library, and I actually was a raw food person for a long time, and I felt great. So I've never really been against meat. I grew up eating meat. I don't have a problem with it, but for me, I care about nutrients, and I believe there are nutrients in meat that we do need. And I'm not able to debate that. I'm not really an expert. I could tell you, what I've heard from people on social media, YouTube, whatever. But for me, I care about my health. And if it's a nutrient or a mineral, something that's healthy for me, I'm going to accept it and be thankful for it. However, I'm not really super excited about eating a ton of broccoli. Like, I like broccoli. I used to be an organic farmer. Okay. I mean, I believe in nutrients. I have salt, Celtic salt in my water right now, and I honestly don't need food. I'm not hungry. And it's whatever works for me that's going to keep me going down the best road I can go down, I'm going to do. Some people say the carnivore diet plus the vegan diet would be great. All those nutrients from the organic fruits and vegetables. Like I ate some grapes this morning. They weren't organic. I can't afford 100% organic. And that's why I became a farmer and a gardener. But then I also had my goats that I milked, and I made goat cheese, and I made raw goat milk kefir because I believe in fermented foods. So I'm kind of all over the place.
I just want to say, I mean, I don't want to, talk too much about your private life, but you do live differently than most people, and you don't always use the animal agriculture because you're so sort of
right. I would love to be able to grow enough healthy food for my animals. Where I'm at right now, I can't exactly grow all of the, organic alfalfa for my milk cow. Like, I believe in raw milk. I believe in raw butter and raw cream. And
we're out in the middle of the desert, by the way.
Right. So the ideal
the
lifestyle,
Wild West. That's what you guys were talking about. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I would love to, I'm always searching for the Garden of Eden. Like, I wish I could go back to the Garden of Eden. However, I'm a Christian, and I believe that after the fall, like Noah and the ark and all the water falling from the atmospheric level and flooding the earth. And then after that, God said, you're not going to be able to live past 120, and you need to kill and eat. Like, our body started decaying faster, and we needed that meat for our strength. So I believe that the raw food diet is very cleansing and very healing. I'm an anti-cancer lifestyle person. Like, I have a bunch of alternative medicines in my fridge, and, I make gases and trap them in water, and, divvy out drops at a time. There's things that I do. I'm kind of experimental. Like, I experiment with my body and do all kinds of things, whether it's herbs or, I did the Rick Simpson oil treatment for a while that I made myself with the plants that were fed so many different nutrients. I believe if we fed our bodies like my friend fed his plants, that we wouldn't need the medicine of the Rick Simpson oil. But, I was trying to fight some things that I thought maybe I had in my body. And I realized that one little half a grain of rice dose of the Rick Simpson oil had a major effect on my body. I could be affected by it for 6 hours. And then I realized that what we put in our bodies, we're not realizing the effect that they have. And so all of the processed food with all of the poisons and the lack of nutrients are killing us. And I want to stay alive, and I want to thrive and be excited about life. And so just thinking about what we put in our bodies and what we're doing. I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of a nicotine addiction, but I'm still doing enough good things, like the natural health, natural medicine. I try to not feed my kids antibiotics. I feed them natural antibiotics, garlic, apple cider vinegar, manuka honey, all those things. But we have to do enough good things. And that's what I try to do.
How's my mic sound?
Perfect.
Okay. So a big misconception in the whole carnism versus veganism argument is that our appearance comes 95% from genetics. If we change our diet, our appearance doesn't change. So there are beautiful people that are vegan. There are beautiful people that are carnivores, but it has nothing to do with the diet.
Oh, I was going to say
Outside of
go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say we should have our logical fallacies list out.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So, people, I get attacked by a lot of carnists, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're skinny," and it's like, well, I've been skinny my whole life. I have an ectomorphic body type. When I ate meat, I look the same way. This isn't really something that should be a measure of whether or not eating meat or not eating meat should be done, really. For the vegan argument is mostly a moral argument for me. We just jumped around a little bit. The Garden of Eden was vegan. God allowed the man after the flood, during the time of sin, to eat meat because there was nothing left after the flood. There were no plants. And the humans, the man was complaining about eating plants, and so God begrudgingly allowed man to eat animals. He definitely didn't tell people that they had to. God actually later on, when explaining his ideal future, talked about the lion laying with the lamb, the snake eating dust, no one harming each other. So we know by loads of stuff. James, Jesus's brother, is known vegetarian. His family was vegetarian. They were Essenian, which were a vegetarian race. So we know by the Bible that God's ideal in the beginning was vegan, and his ideal in the future is vegan. So a lot of Christian carnists have this wrong. This is something that I've spent a lot of time researching. There's quite a bit of vegetarian veganism inside the Bible. It's just if you aren't a vegetarian or vegan, you don't really notice it as much. But it is very much a moral, above all, and a moral argument to me outside of health. It's the health thing is just the bonus that you get along with that. But I'm looking to lower my karmic inventory. I first went vegan in the 90s. I grew up vegetarian, went vegan in the 90s, was vegan for a long time until 2003. And then I ended up in Hollywood being a rock star and all that stuff and drinking and alcohol. And so obviously my morals went out the window. And I did the paleo thing for a long time, and my body didn't really change much at all the whole time. So I don't really believe there's that much of a difference outside of the cumulative negative consequences with eating meat and dairy that end up, you end up later in life. There's definitely, wait, I need to check my notes. I was writing notes while you were talking. Nutrients. So if you're eating a whole foods plant-based diet, you shouldn't be needing to supplement any nutrients. Going back to being a endurance cyclist, it's all about macros. It's all about how much carbs and stuff at least for an endurance cyclist, someone who wants to be on that level health wise, it's all about your macro contents and not about the micro, because the micro should be taken care of. If you're eating well, you should have all the nutrients. There is an appeal to conspiracy here where the powers that be, there's nothing and no nutrients in the food or anything anymore. I don't really see that as being too much of a problem. I get my blood work done often. My blood work is perfect. For a long-term vegan, I don't supplement anything. I don't supplement B12. The only thing I supplement is creatine, and sometimes before a race, a couple different things. But there's really, if you're eating correctly, there's no reason to worry about your nutrient content of your food. And the next thing, processed foods. The word processed means a lot of things, and not all, I wouldn't even say half of processed foods are bad for you. Foods are processed to absorb the human body better. Some of them are detrimental and some aren't. So there's a lot of people use a lot of catchphrases and stuff, and kind of, it's like you're processing food when you chew it. So it's like it's not so easy as just saying, oh, processed foods are the worst things in the world and we got to avoid them, because I eat a lot of processed foods and I'm pretty damn healthy. The raw thing is very, very a controversial subject, especially in the vegan scene, because the raw thing, it's an extreme. When you get extremes in either directions, that's when you get into trouble. You get the extreme carnivores who are just eating meat all day and their teeth are falling out and they're low testosterone, their blood sugar spiking, they're waking up in the middle of the night because their body's telling them to go out and find sugar. Every cell in the human body runs off sugar, carbohydrates, glucose. When you deprive yourself of carbohydrates, your body starts shutting down your immune system. A lot of people will switch to carnivore and they'll be like, oh, my eczema's gone. That's not a good thing, that your body's shutting down your immune system and you're not having immunoresponses anymore. Carbohydrates are the most important thing to the human body. And as long as I've been alive, the sugar is bad things has been pushed, but it's even more now with the carnivore diet. And it's not healthy. It's not good for you. The low carb diet has been studied time and time again. And there's a 27% raise in all-cause mortality for anyone on a low carbohydrate diet. And a lot of people will be, oh, I'm just doing it temporarily. But anything that's bad for you long-term is also bad for you temporarily. And that's not even talking about, the harm done to the environment, the harm to the animals, the long-term harm done to the human body by eating food that you're supposed to be eating only in life or death circumstances. We're omnivorous, so we can survive in places like the desert, without having vegetables. But we aren't living in life or death times anymore. Just like Noah, in the floods, that's not life or death anymore. So there are other ways to be healthy without doing all the harm. And
we just started to cut out a little bit again. I don't know what it just.
Go ahead. I think I went long enough.
One time when I had a friend that was trying to help me out by letting me know that vaccines weren't healthy for my babies, and she had me read this book about the Japanese and how they have less of this and less of that. And eventually, when it came to arguing with the doctors, her husband told me that you believe your studies and I'll believe mine, because it is such a big debate and everybody says this about them and they say this about them. And it's really about understanding and filtering through all of the knowledge that you can gain from all of the different sides. There's a huge pendulum from the raw food diet to the strict carnivore. And, I've come out of the raw food world. For a while, I really felt good. And, supposedly 80% raw will heal your body of this or that. But there's a lot of people on the carnivore diet that are saying the opposite of what you just said. And so, I'm not trying to be a scientist. I'm not trying to be an expert. But I know that for me, it really helps to not be addicted to sugar and carbs like bread. And, I could make my own homemade bread with my organic flour, and I could eat 3 rolls with my butter from my cow, and I need a nap afterwards and I gain 5 pounds. So for me, I really want to build muscle. Right now, I'm into building muscle because the people I'm listening to are saying that your muscular skeletal health is the key to longevity, and your metabolic health is determined by your muscle mass. And so I am eating 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, and I'm feeling awesome, and I'm seeing my abs show, and I love it. And I'm not craving sugar because I don't like feeling like an addict. And as soon as I start eating bread, I want more. So I'm really, I'd rather eat sweet potato fries right now, honestly, made in the air fryer at my mom's house. I'm not being too strict on myself. Like if I cheat, or, last night I had like some grilled onions and mushrooms with my meat, and I felt bloated and full, and I didn't really like it. I kind of like how I feel when I just eat the meat, honestly. I do well on Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. It's something that makes me feel strong and clear-headed. I really like no carb. Do I feel bad about the animals? I butcher my own animals if I can. I can't always. I know that might be hard for you. For me, it's not. So to each his own.
And this is where I think about the law of correspondence. Do you want to go ahead and talk about, and go ahead, Jeffrey.
Am I still here?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
replugged in my mic. It should be better now.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, the law of correspondence, as above, so below. What you put into the world, you'll get back.
And it's also
The
not
whole
just you, it's
okay.
in the aggregate also.
Yeah. Feeling better is not a marker of health. Heroin makes you feel great. So feeling better, again, is not necessarily something that, the difference between vegans and carnivores is we actually have 200 years of science backing what we're saying, and carnivore dieters have zero. But anecdote, and this anecdote is coming from a group of people who are worshiping these steroid taking influencers, Joe Rogan, Dr. Baker, Paul Saladino. These guys are all chiropractors. They're not health doctors. You guys should check out on my podcast. I've had Dr. Peter Rogers, who's a Harvard doctor practicing, who's vegan, on the show. Yeah, so carnivore doesn't have anything but anecdote, and this anecdote is very popular. So there's a kind of a group think, kind of a cult of personality thing going on, where everyone will just repeat things, whether they're true or not. And since people are a part of this group that's so popular, they just everything just gets kind of weird. But again, muscular build is not a marker of health. Having abs does not mean you are healthy. Sure, vanity, it does something for your personal, maybe self-esteem, but at the expense of thousands of animals, and to the detriment of your health. If having muscles means you're healthy, there'd be bodybuilders all over the place, living hundreds of years, but they're not. In the going back to the Bible, in Garden of Eden times, people were living 200 years, 300 years, something like that.
900.
And it wasn't until they started eating meat that they started living 80 years. You said 120. I don't know any hardcore carnists who are living to be 120. Most of the people who are living that long eat a carbohydrate-driven diet. Seventh-day Adventists in California are some of the longest living people in the world, and they're vegetarian. I have 7 pages of notes for my next debate, all with citations backing them all, of meta studies. A lot of what a lot of carnivore people don't know is that there's a hierarchy of evidence, right? You can see it on my screen right here. There's, down at the bottom, you have expert opinion, which is all carnivore influencers. All they have is their opinion and their anecdote. And there's several more steps in the hierarchy of evidence, the top being systemic reviews, meta studies, and what vegans and vegetarians have to back up their claims is meta studies. Meta studies are studies of hundreds of studies over 200 years over the whole world, not just what Dr. Baker's opinion, because he got on Joe Rogan and now he's paid to promote the meat and dairy industry. The meat consumption has been going down for the last 10 years.
Just give me a minute.
Okay. Krista has to leave soon, unfortunately.
Okay. That's fine.
You got a phone call.
I'll keep going. I'll give her final statement.
Yeah, I just have to say goodbye, but
Okay.
I appreciate what you have to say. I understand that you have your point of view and your knowledge and your research. I also read the China diet that was kind of interesting. So like I said, I've read a lot of books, and I know that it can be very overwhelming for regular people to hear both sides of different arguments in the debate, right? So I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to build some muscle, and you have a great day. All right.
Awesome.
And we're so glad you stopped by, though. And then, oops, hold on. Oh, sorry, everyone. All right, folks. All right, Krista. We'll be seeing you. Okay, come back again. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So let's continue on just for a second if you have some more time, because let's do it, because she was talking about feeling better, and I'm like, yeah, so do people who take adrenochrome, you know?
Yeah. Feeling better is not that's the first thing anyone says. Oh, I went carnivore and I feel so good. I feel great. It's like, that's
wait
not
a few years, because every single carnivore that I know eventually gets polyps and huge problems, and they end up carrying, bags because they can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah. No, so there's a guy named Joey Schwartz. He was a carnivore influencer a couple years back. He blew up on YouTube really quick. His channel was called Carnivore Camaraderie. He was 19. Me, a guy named Durian Ryder, and another guy named Nutrivore. We all debated this guy three in a row, and we caused him to basically shut down his channel because he was so full of shit. This kid, I was debating him and I told him, bro, you're gonna get scurvy. And he's like, no. And like 2 weeks after our debate, he's on his channel with blood coming out of his mouth. Whoa. Yeah. His teeth are bleeding, gums are bleeding, spitting blood on the ground with scurvy. I told the dude, like, dude, you can't, he only shits once a week.
Yeah, I've heard about people like that.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's why they're just so full of shit.
Literally full of shit.
Figuratively, both.
Well, and lipemia, when you're eating that much fat, it clogs the receptors going to your brain. And they all, my brain fog went away. Oh, when I was vegan, I had brain fog. And when I started eating massive amounts of fat, which causes lipemia, which is brain fog. Like it's absolutely insane.
I want to talk about something that Christa brought up, which is belief.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's a Christian, and she has beliefs, and she kept on bringing up this word that has the word lie right in it.
Yeah.
So I tell everyone, because people ask me all the time, so what do you believe? I say, I don't believe anything. I don't believe
shit, really.
I don't believe anything.
I'm agnostic on almost every subject, but I will argue for subjects that I believe are more in line with the truth.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, just how she phrased the biblical stuff, it's absolutely incorrect. God did not command us to start eating meat. That's not at all what happened. And most Christians have not read the fucking Bible. They just grew up around their parents who read the Bible and went to church. Or they read it when they were a kid as a carnist, and all the vegan, all the non-flesh eating rhetoric, they just didn't see it, or it didn't matter in their head because they weren't an anti-vegan yet. Now that anti-vegan is so popular, it's like the cool thing that every conservative guy wants to, oh, fuck vegans, they're all libs. And it's like, no, that's not the case.
There's this huge psyop going on around our food, or even many psyops. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry that she left, was the God of the Bible. Now, the God of the Bible is the Nephilim, not the God of everything, right?
Yeah.
So when she's okay, so that's one thing to consider. But even if we were put here, I mean, that's the thing, is that people, even if they have read the Bible, they haven't read the books that the Bible has been stolen from. So they don't understand that our DNA has been tampered with for thousands of years, and we are set here as slaves to mine gold, right?
Yeah,
Basically that's what these old
what
books
they're
are
saying.
That's what the old books are saying anyways, right? And here we are in Elko, Nevada. It's, pretty much everyone who lives here except me is a miner, a gold miner, not a kid.
I'm a gold miner.
So anyways, that was one of the things but even if a so-called quote unquote God who has slaves, they're still going to want their slaves to be healthy, right?
Okay.
And the Bible lays out our diet for us.
It does.
It does.
It's very clear about it.
It says seed-bearing plants or something like that.
Yes. It's very, very, very clear about what we're supposed to be eating. Genesis 1:11, like it's all very clear. And I'm not a religious person.
Right. Me
in the least bit.
So why are the religious people carnivore?
Yeah. No. You should see the debates. I've had a couple debates with Christian Carnis, and they're so full of shit, and they get so triggered by this stuff. It's probably why she pieced out so quick.
Maybe
they don't want to hear that stuff, because it's like that's what they've told themselves to make themselves feel better. And when they're in these big groups, these cult of personality, groupthink, Joe Rogan groups, they're all just fucking just positive reinforcement. Oh, it's okay that your LDL's 3,000. It's okay. Just eat more meat. And it's this mentality. I'm debating this lady later, and her whole, so she does this thing called she invented this thing called the GAPS diet. And it's basically a diet to heal your gut, heal ADHD, heal autism. And the problem with the gut is a problem from Carnism. And so this lady's trying to use meat to fix a meat problem.
Yeah.
It's the same mentality as like these farmer guys doing regenerative grazing. They're like, oh, the cows destroyed the cropland. Let's add more cows. It's like, it's an inversion of the truth. There's so much complete inversion of the truth going on these days. It's mind-boggling. And like researching the lady that I'm debating later, it's just, she's just completely gone against 200 years of science, and she has nothing to back anything she's saying, and she's recommending people give this diet to their children.
Yeah.
All bone broth all day, bone broth. So you know what causes autism? Heavy metals.
Right.
What's in bone broth? Heavy metals. This lady's recommending fish oil, cod liver oil, and fish oil every day with your bone broth. What's in cod liver oil and fish oil? Heavy metals. She's telling people, oh, fermented dairy. Dairy has casein in it. Casein causes these behavioral problems in children. Like, it's an inversion of the truth, and it's just because, so meat and dairy industry has been taking a downturn for the last 10 years. What would they do? What would the marketers of meat and dairy do to get meat back up again? Pay influencers to tell people to eat more meat.
Or even use AI bots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a real war on for your mind today.
Yeah.
And people, especially the older people, they don't even know the technology that's being used.
Nope.
And
there was just a study that found they were looking at disinformation on the internet, right? And one of the biggest things was disinformation around the plant-based diet. The plant-based diet from Carnis, not plant-based diet lying about the plant-based diet. It's from Carnis lying about the plant-based diet. Because like you can go in. I know AI isn't the greatest thing to go, but if you go into AI and ask it these questions, vegan versus Carnis questions, it's going to tell you the truth by looking at all the studies. Like they don't have anything to back their shit up. Yes, you can lose weight doing carnivore. Is that the healthiest, most ethical way of doing it? No.
Right. And
you can starve yourself to death and lose weight. That doesn't mean you're better off than you were when you had that weight on you.
Right. And there's so much disinformation or like I've seen a picture of this girl who she was so skinny, she looked like she had anorexia, and people are saying this is what happens to you on a vegan diet. And that is so not true. There's fat people on vegan diets. There's, that gal
90% of the anorexic people in this world are meat eaters. What are you talking about?
So a lot of this religion, I would call Carnism like that, pretty much a religion. A lot of it has to do with me. I feel better. I look better. It's kind of a shallow.
All about me.
It's all about me.
Look at Lubass right here. So this trash bag, Lubass.
I don't know.
I finally went full carnivore. I'm losing weight now. I lost 60 pounds. Oh, my type 2 diabetes is gone. Right, buddy. High blood pressure.
I was diagnosed with diabetes, and I went to a doctor recently, and he said, "You do not have diabetes. Who told you that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I reversed it." And I did not do it eating meat. No, I did it by training my body, just by like my movement, my exercise, and the timing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it takes real willpower to do that.
Oh yeah. You have to know that's shadow work. You have to be able to look inside and be like, okay, this is wrong. I'm not going to put up for being complacent anymore. I'm going to do something about it. That's what veganism is. That's why it's so funny so this lady I'm debating later, she's like one of the top 5 carnivore people on the internet, right? Okay. I met her through a guy from a Mark Passio group that was telling me that veganism is against natural law. And it's just like, dude, so it's okay to steal. It's okay to steal a sentient being that can feel their life. It's okay to steal that. If you think you're getting health benefits out of it. That's what this guy Cav was trying to say. He's saying, because I see benefits, it goes against natural law. Therefore, veganism is against natural law, and any animals that are killed for my own pleasure, my vanity of seeing myself in better shape,
quote unquote.
It doesn't matter that they die. It's okay because they're here for me. That's a satanic mindset. That's against natural law. And this is coming from the same dudes that are in this group saying that fucking aliens are going to come save us soon. You know?
Silly. That's very silly.
And other people, New Agers, and they're kicking me and the other people that understand and are aligned in natural law out of their groups. They're blocking us all the way up to the top. Mark Passio's right-hand man blocking people, letting people think that aliens are going to come fucking save us. And then going and making videos about natural law.
Well, he did years. Mark Passio did years of great work, and I appreciate the early work that he did.
His latest work blows his early work out of the water, in my opinion.
Oh, I did watch the Unholy Feminine series.
Yeah. Oh, well, that one's really good. The last 5 episodes of his podcast were some of his best work.
Also, the 2 Faces, 1 Mask, I think, or something like that.
Unholy Feminine is very, 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 very important.
I don't think most of the listeners probably don't know who he is. So we're talking about a website called What on Earth is Happening, which is not a question. Okay.
Yeah.
What else? I was going to talk about like how our palates can be
manipulated and changed.
Developed. Yeah, manipulated and changed. Exactly. So
One
I
of the
mean,
girls on my show, Alicia, she went vegan on the show. And over the last several months, she's gone vegan on the show. And it just hit her the other day. She went into a store, walked by the meat section, and almost threw up.
yeah, good.
They just did a study on this exact concept. They said the more you sustain from meat, the more it becomes disgusting to you. And this doesn't happen with plants and vegetables and fruits. This doesn't happen.
You're exactly right about that. I mean, at least with my own experience, because I don't even see it as food. I mean, I would literally die before I ate a steak, and actually I've always been like this. Even when I was a kid, I didn't want to, I didn't want to eat my filet mignon and I would sit at the table 2 hours, with ketchup on it and staring at it before my mom would go, all right, forget it.
Talk about brainwashing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but
like all of us, my daughter, I would take her to the petting zoo and be like, oh, do you want to eat these animals? No. And then she goes to school, comes back from school. Meat is strong, makes me strong. Meat, I need meat. Like
talk about school.
And what's crazy is that most all carnists had carnism forced on them when they were too young to have a choice. So they don't even know what they want. They've just had something forced on them, and it's been forced on them for so long, and it's been forced on us for so long. It's such a mainstream thing that they just think that that's how it's supposed to be. And it's nothing further from the truth. It's complete BS.
So my doctor explained to me a little bit about how a palate gets developed, and I like to, because I hear I have a radio station that mostly plays music. You can actually develop a palate in your ear as well. It's not that different. But my doctor did explain to me how the more you eat something, the more your biology changes to crave that certain thing. So when I started eating really, the more I ate like cucumbers, the more I would want something fresh and hydrating.
Yeah. And like what your friend was saying, she's like, I don't want to eat broccoli all the time. Really? Right. Man, I love we eat so much broccoli.
I know.
I cannot get sick of it. It's just impossible.
And stuff like that. Yeah. So I have another friend who I don't want to talk bad about my friends. I love them, and we don't. I don't want to see them as an opponent or something like that. I want to help them in any way that I can. So anyway, I have another friend who she bakes cakes for a living, and when I came to visit me, and when I cooked some broccoli for myself, she could not be in the house because she didn't like how it smelled.
Yeah.
So it absolutely is true. What else? I mean, and this is where I want to get back to the as above, so below, because that's what really hit me as I don't like to use the word morality, because people are, as soon as you use that word, people are like, you're in a cult. Or they try to put a box around me like you're religious or something like that, and I'm not. So ethics is a good one.
Yeah.
But the thing is about as above, so below is I want to be free, and so why would I enslave somebody else, some other sentient being, if I want to be free? Because us as humanity cannot be free until those below us are free, until we free those below us. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The carnists don't understand how silly they look to us when they talk about freedom. We're like, what are you talking about?
Freedom is, and they don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, they don't understand that what they're doing to animals is what the government is doing to us. And if they were put in charge, they would do to us the same thing. Like, people are de facto Satanists these days. And the whole, going back to your friend, she was cool. I'm not trying to talk shit, but the prepping thing, right? So there's this, in our in the whole truther scene, it's obviously very cool to want to go live off grid and prep and like, you know, go out in the middle of nowhere and grow a garden and all that stuff. But what people don't understand is that is not a sustainable model for modern times. And just because you isolate yourself and go be a Satanist on some piece of land, it doesn't mean you're doing the world any kind of justice. You're still like this idea, oh, I gotta go have all these animals and kill animals. And the fact that she said that it doesn't bother her to kill animals, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
There's-
How can you not have empathy? Go ahead. I
There's-
let my dog out.
Go ahead. There's humans get mental health problems from killing. Perpetrator-induced traumatic syndrome. It's just like PTSD, but instead of something happening to you, you get it from doing something to other sentient beings. All these slaughterhouse workers, they have perpetrator-induced traumatic syndrome, and this causes them to go out into the world and do crime. Any kind of slaughterhouses that show up in a neighborhood, domestic violence, sexual assaults, all kinds of stuff go up in that neighborhood once people are working in slaughterhouses. And there's been loads of studies on this. It's the same thing that happens to our brothers and sisters that go out and kill people for our government.
Right.
They get mental health problems. They come home and, you know, unalive themselves.
They say they don't care. That's the main thing. They don't give a fuck. How many military people have you heard say that? I don't give a fuck. And they think that they don't. But it shows up subconsciously, it seems like.
Yeah. They hire people from the prison industry to work in these slaughterhouses, and they just it's insane.
Yeah, our prisons are like they're private businesses, and it is free labor.
Yeah,
for stuff like that. It is insane.
You got idiots like this guy Lou Bass right here who doesn't think that there's a study about the mental health problems of people working in, like, he could literally go into Google right now. Not that I haven't posted this several times, but go into Google and type PTSD, PITS in like, this guy I gotta wipe this guy's butt for him. Oh, link me, liar. Right. There's been hundreds of studies on the subject over the years, but these carnists, they got to defend their position no matter what. And even though they know their position is bullshit. And Mark is, like, these guys, like, and it kind of sucks because, like, what do you, that's why I wanted to ask you, what's your problem with the word vegan?
Everything as far as like cow farts.
When
people use the word, I use the word vegan, what a meat eater hears is, so you think cow farts are ruining the planet. Mm-hmm. I just don't like the term and how it's been. Okay, that's one of the things.
That's our term that's been around for a very long time, and if we allow idiots to control our rhetoric and our vocabulary, they're winning. I'm fucking vegan. I don't give a fuck what anyone has to say. Okay. If you are an animal, if you eat, plant-based and you are an animal rights activist, I mean, you're basically vegan. It sounds like what you are. And you really shouldn't let other people control you in that way, because all they're doing is they're able to subdue our message by controlling our rhetoric. And I get that the vegan word is just divisive, but it's divisive for a reason. It's divisive because it's the truth, and people that are living not in truth are very much triggered by it. And that's why it's divisive. It's not our fault it's divisive. So why should we have to change what our message is if it's their fault that they're doing the wrong thing and they're being divisive? Unfortunately, Mark has this position where he's just like, oh, I'm not going not going to push it that much because it's so divisive. And it's like, bro, you know, like, what's the point of doing all this natural law shit? Not talk about him, but his students. What? So you're going to do all this to understand the axiom of non-aggression against humans? Like, you have to pat yourself on the back because you aren't killing humans every day. This is about all sentient beings. It's about doing non-aggression to the world. It's about doing less harm to the world. If you're claiming to do less harm, like how else are you doing less harm? I don't understand this position that the Carnist natural law people have, where they're like, oh, I'm learning all about the truth and how I have to do less harm. I'm just going to not harm humans. It's like, weren't you already kind of not harming humans? Like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, we should all treat humans better and humanity needs to be saved. But we need to, the most impact we're doing, the most harm we're doing is to sentient beings in the animal realm. So it's like, I don't understand where these people are patting themselves on the back. They're just like, oh, I'm not going to aggress on my neighbor. I'm a fucking natural law practitioner, you know? And it's like, no, that's not what it's about, dude. It's about what you put in the world. And all these dudes that have it wrong, all these people that have it wrong, they're all constantly outward pointing, blaming the government, blaming everyone else for them being a piece of shit.
And please save us.
Yeah. And the aliens are going to come save us.
Aliens are going to save us. So I know the difference, but what would you say to somebody who says, you know, there's no difference between killing an animal and harvesting a broccoli? To me, it's damn obvious.
I've done a debate I did a 3-part debate with a farmer on this exact subject, and it's absolute. So Ted Nugent,
guess, he's Christian.
On Joe Rogan, Ted Nugent went up there and he's like, he's a hunter, right? Which is not sustainable for the whole population cannot go out and hunt. If all the idiots who want to hunt go out and hunt at once, all the fucking animals will be gone and everything will be fucked. So this whole I'm a hunter and I'm closer to nature because I hunt is a fucking
once again, it's more selfish. It's like, I can hunt and you can't because I have a tag. Because the government says I have a tag and I can go kill something for myself.
Ted Nugent goes on Joe Rogan and is like, for your tofu, they need to kill every bird, every squirrel, every animal, every bug, blah, 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 which is complete nonsense.
Yeah.
For one, it's nonsense because the cow industry, the meat and dairy industry is fed plants. And when you feed a cow, you have to feed a cow billions of calories to get millions of calories out of its meat.
Right.
So so cows eat way more plants than vegans do.
So why not just eliminate the middleman?
Yeah. Yeah. So
or the middle cow.
People are fucking starving all over the world, but we're able to feed these cows at a deficit. We lose all these calories out of their piss and shit and sweat and slobber and farts and all their shit. We're losing these calories that we could be feeding people with. And so the crop death thing, this is irresponsible carnist farming practices. If you're going out in your field and killing all the wildlife, you're a piece of shit. Okay, but these carnists like to blame the vegans for this shit. And they're saying that we kill more because of the irresponsible carnist farming practices. So they're wrong because it's not vegans doing this. If we were veganic farming, there'd be 0 crop deaths. It's lazy, irresponsible carnist farming practices that do that. And that's the reason why we're having to do the regenerative grazing thing. That's irresponsible carnist farming practices long term. These farmers don't give a shit about anything but money
about themselves.
There's multiple reasons why the crop death thing is wrong. There's so many reasons, but the crop death argument is a vegan argument. Like, people are, plants are sentient. Okay, that's a vegan argument because cows eat more plants than fucking humans do. Okay. They have to eat loads of the shit just to make a pound of meat.
There you go.
Yep.
So I also
Blue bass is quiet.
here's another another concept. When I go to the grocery store and I bring home like beets or a potato or something, I can
Yeah.
use half of that potato and I can grow so many potatoes out of half of a potato.
Yep.
I have a whole the thing over here that I'm doing for spring. Like anything that I have that has that I buy from the store that has a seed in it.
Yeah.
I save
Oh,
some
that's
of
what
the
we've been
seed.
doing. Yeah.
You can regrow vegetables
Everything.
really easily, and it's
We
not
have
that hard.
beets. We have
Beets,
beets,
I have
all the
beets.
any root vegetables. You just chop the top off, drop it in water, and it'll just start growing again.
Right. Try to take a half
Onions.
a cow.
Yeah.
What can you do with another half a cow? It's just going to go bad.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, if you look logically, meat is not the most efficient food for humans because it immediately goes bad, where plant products can stay for years sometimes on a shelf, especially gourds, legumes,
Yeah,
years and years, decades,
that's
sealed
right.
correctly. Can't do that with meat. Sorry. It
And
just
then
putrefies over
you
time.
can grow those beans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. But yeah,
Well,
there's
yeah.
a lot of inversion of the truth, and it's an inversion leaning towards laziness. People rather just eat everything. People don't, growing up in the 90s, everyone knew vegetarian was way more healthy, but now the truth has been inverted and people just want to be lazy and eat whatever the fuck they want and not think of the repercussions. But that's why we are in the shithole we're in right now. People
Yeah,
keep
as a
putting
species.
shit out. And karma, people think karma's not real because it doesn't immediately come punch me in the face.
No,
But that's not how it works.
No.
You're causing ripples in the whole world
As
that
it does for
affect
blood.
everyone. And then finally it will come back to you.
And that's why we're enslaved.
Yep. Absolutely.
So do you have another show coming up soon?
At 2:00, I'm debating Natasha Campbell McBride, which is she is the lady that brought bone broth into the mainstream.
Okay, so you told us about that. I wasn't sure about the time. Is that Pacific time?
Yeah. It's another hour.
Okay. Hour and 10.
Yeah. And that's gonna be probably my biggest person I've debated so far.
Right on. Do you want to tell the listeners how they can find the show?
If you go to youtube.com/Jeffrey, Jeffrey Phillips, you'll be able to find my YouTube. My show is called the Vegan Group Therapy Podcast. VGT Live is what we call it for short. It used to be every Sunday, but I've been busier with just the podcast. You can just doing a weekly podcast. You could just forget to do real work. A lot of people get into podcasting and they think that they're changing the world with it, but I need to start doing more better work. Podcasting is very easy. It's very easy to just turn my computer on and talk shit for a couple hours a week. So I'm trying to get back more into more direct stuff, more presentations, more of these like debating people that are just debating Satanists and proving them wrong. But yeah, so usually I do a show every week. Sometimes a couple weeks will go by, but I'm constantly putting out fun vegan content. Also, my partner, Light Occult Revival, you should check her channel out too. She does better stuff than I do, more in the spirituality and psychology stuff. There's also a show I go on called Europa Natural Law, which is a show mainly consisting of European practitioners of natural law. It's been really fun. You should check out their channel.
Okay.
And Mark has the How to Become the One True Media classes that you guys should check out. And he's doing a natural law course that's happening at the end of the year. But I think everyone should do that class. Everyone should take both of his courses. his media course turns you into a badass broadcaster, basically. And the shadow work seminar is going to be really important for a lot of people. Shadow work. A lot of people get into the truth movement and their egos just get giant and their heads get huge and they just think that they're the fucking shit because they know this stuff, but they aren't actually doing it in their lives. And shadow work teaches you how to, represent what you believe in instead of, whatever, just being okay with going along with how everyone thinks things should be.
Yeah, I'm seeing a real like hive mentality in humanity, and to be honest with you, it's irritating as hell. People are just like going until they bump into something.
Yeah.
Like they walk that way, they drive that way, and everything I could expand on that.
Yeah.
We
People need to wake the fuck up.
and so we have I don't know how long you want to stay. It's 12:52.
I'm good for a little bit.
Okay. Because I know you have another show coming up. I don't want you to be exhausted.
Yeah.
Like it's like I know how it is being on the air all day.
Yeah, I do. My podcast is usually 4 to 5 hours, but I've done as much as 8 hours before. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk to you about because you were in your last podcast that I didn't listen to a lot of it, but you guys were talking about without our daddy government, people are afraid that it would turn into the Wild West. And I was like, what's wrong with that? I'm out of here in the Wild West, and I think it's great. There's people who live out in the middle of nowhere.
It's not really the Wild West. You still have cops and government and all that stuff.
It's going to take them 2 hours to get out there if they can, Yeah,
it's just not realistic that it's the future. We're living in the future. It's not ever going to go that way again. No matter what, if our government went away, free market capitalism, private market industry would take over all that stuff. And, we're not ever going to go back that direction. And it's kind of, it's a naive idea that things would go Wild West. We're all killing each other in the streets. I think that's what most people think. There'd be massive bloodshed, but I believe in the greater good of humanity. I think everyone will just keep going to work. Especially if they're getting a raise because they aren't going to have to pay income tax anymore. I don't think that everyone's going to give up on prosperity if we don't have a federal government. I think that nothing will change once the feds are gone. Just like when they shut down a couple years back, 2013, they shut down for a couple months. Nothing fucking happened. It's ridiculous, but it's not. There's always going to be in an anarchist community, you can go live out in the desert and be in the Wild West. You have a choice. With our government now, you don't have a choice. You have to do what they say. In anarchy land, you would just have a choice to not do what any community you're staying in says. You can go from one community to another. There will be different flavors of communities, just like there are the cities. In every city we have has different politics. In anarchy land, every community will have different rules, and if you don't like them, you can go to another community that fits you better. But all the services that government gives us will be far better in the future with private industry, competition, the lack of monopolies. This all empowers the individual. And when the people of a community are voting with their dollar on what businesses stay in business, that's far better than when government is just allowing psychopaths to monopolize an industry and offer the people the worst quality service at the highest amount of money.
So I have to just take a real quick commercial break, about 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, I gotta get my cat from outside anyway.
Gotcha.
Obviously, you're here because corporate radio has left you a little. This ain't corporate radio. This is RadioElco.com.
Rock me, baby.
Please continue.
Rock me all night long.
Join us every third Tuesday of the month at 2 a.m. for the Token Jazz Hour. That's every third Tuesday at 2 a.m., the Token Jazz Hour.
You know, gas prices are out of control, and I figure if I'm going to pay this much for gasoline, I want to make sure I'm getting the very best. That's why I fill my car with the fine unleaded fuels of Ernest and Julio Octane. The Octane family has had its own family-run refinery for generations in the sunny valleys of Northern California, where only the finest crude oils are harvested and fermented into the best unleaded fuels. It's a full-body gasoline with just a hint of sweetness that complements any color vehicle, red, white, even rosé. So if you don't mind paying a little extra for the very best, pick yourself up a bottle of premium unleaded from Ernest and Julio Octane. You can almost taste the difference. Unleaded Supreme from Ernest and Julio Octane. Refined fuels for refined tastes.
This song was in like a video game growing up. There was like a car racing game or something that had this song as a soundtrack growing up.
Oh, really? Yeah. Peter Gunn. So you've been in the Santa Cruz area. That's cool. We have a lot of listeners in Santa Cruz. The station does. Radio Elko does.
That's cool. Yeah, I grew up. I was born there. I was born there.
Wow.
Then I lived there in my teenage years until I was 20, and then I moved to LA, but then I spent the last summer there. It's a cool, strange town, kind of ghetto, kind of awesome at the same time, but really cheap weed, really good food, really nice weather.
Yeah.
But a lot of crazy people, and the money has kind of ruined it there. A lot of San Jose money has ended up in Santa Cruz, and it's just kind of ruined the place, but it's a cool place.
I'm seeing this whole migration happening, obviously up from Mexico and then over like through California. A lot of Californians are moving to Reno and Carson City,
Texas.
and actually out to in Texas and yeah.
It's weird, like people, truthers get all loud about like moving around the country, and it's like, dude, it fucking sucks everywhere. Like, don't fool yourself and set yourself back moving someplace that sucks. It sucks everywhere. That's why people talk so much shit about California, and it's like, yeah, we got shitty stuff here, but it's still the best place in the fucking United States. Like, there's so many people here. That's what they don't understand. You can do anarchy here pretty easy because there's so many goddamn people here, and it's so easy to make money in Southern California under the table. So it's a very anarchistic place to live. And it was based on anarchy. It was started on it was a bunch of dudes trying to make movies, not wanting to use Edison's patents. So they set up Los Angeles because it's near the border, because they'd know because the patent office and Thomas Edison was out in DC, and they'd have people in DC spying on Edison to find out if he heard about the people using the cameras in Los Angeles. And when they'd send the feds out here, they'd take all the equipment across the border. Like, crazy story I read. I went on a deep dive about like the roots of like the Hollywood industries and shit. And I was just like, what? Like, this is a total anarchy town for a long time, because it was so far away from the East Coast and the authority back in the, early times.
Oh, okay. So a lot of my listeners are not going to know what the word anarchy means.
Yeah. Anarchy means without rulers.
Yeah.
Without
So I know
no slaves,
that,
no
but
rulers.
does that mean chaos?
Nope.
I didn't think so. And I don't think so either. Oh, I
Mm-mm.
know.
They've brainwashed us to think it's that, and they've
No,
done a quite
what we
a
have
good job
now
about it.
is chaos. This is
Yeah,
chaos, but
this
we're
is
going.
chaos.
Yeah. I see like a lot of people acting like absolute children about the whole this dialectic going on, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
On both sides. When I say that I am not a part of the dialectic and I'm an anarchist, people immediately want to think that I'm like in a cult or religious or something, and I am not religious. Okay. The word anarchy, an means without, and archon means ruler. It does not mean chaos. It's another Orwellian kind of way to take our language and control us with it by changing the meanings of words in our perceptions.
Yep.
Okay. So when we say anarchy, that's another way of what would be another, would voluntarism be a good word?
Not really. I mean, it's
No.
again, we're going back to like the not using the word vegan thing,
Oh
where it's
yeah.
like,
Okay.
we're letting them control our rhetoric,
Yeah.
and
And we got
rather than just stay true to the definitions of the words, we're letting them kind of rule us with it. The two-party paradigm is the worst thing in the world, especially for the animals, because only libs are vegan. So it's like, that's what the impression is. Therefore, the majority of at least our country would never go vegan because that's a lib thing. That's what propaganda does. Like in during the Vietnam times, the whole hippie movement, that was invented by the CIA to disillusion anti-war conservatives that were against the Vietnam War. So they invented these shitty bands with this stupid new age message and dressed them up like retards and sent them out in the world, started a trend. And then, you think a conservative's going to side with a hippie? It completely changed the whole opinion of the war with conservatives, just starting the hippie movement. It's the same thing.
For more information on this, I suggest the Dave McGowan book, Inside the LC, which is Laurel Canyon.
Yeah. It's crazy shit. Jim Morrison's dad was the naval officer that did the Bay of Pigs. Gulf of Tonkin incident that started the war. That was Jim Morrison's dad. But if you don't think that these government guys are using their kids to run psyops, you're fucking fooling yourself. Like, who else would they do? Oh, we're gonna make these people famous. Oh, I'll make my son famous, then we'll be rich. Like, they're able to make these. It's like limited hangout agents, like Elon Musk. He's a CIA limited hangout agent that was invented to control minds. Joe Rogan. All these intellectual dark web guys, they have been made popular to control people's minds, and they're the biggest psyop that's going on in the world right now. Is the whole Joe Rogan, Elon Musk thing.
Right.
They're both completely in bed with each other. They're both used by the government to control people's minds. And that's why we're having this whole carnivore thing. It's all a direct connection with the cult of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a lot of friends who aren't really, they're not independent researchers, and they just sort of come home and watch TV and drink beer. But they are into Joe Rogan. This whole thing is done by design.
It's hard not to be.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
If you think that all of this is just happening because, if you think these groups from the hippie movement got together because they were great and it just all happened by coincidence or something, you haven't even looked 1 inch into it.
Very naive.
It's extremely, they're like children.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so easily led.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see a lot of childlike people being into Joe Rogan. They're into sports.
Yeah.
They're into the military, TV,
Eating
beer,
meat.
and meat, and Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's infantile. It's all these it's we're all stunted from growing up in society. So like it's hard not to be into Joe Rogan. I was into Joe Rogan for a long time, but I had to come to terms with myself that this dude's fucking lying to people nonstop about loads of shit that's detrimental to their lives.
I saw him do an interview with Dr. Andrew Kaufman, which the interview went great. And then at the very end of the interview, Joe Rogan said something. He said something that completely like it just
shut down everything that the
it
guy
shut
had
down
said.
everything
Yeah.
that they had just talked about, and then he
Yeah.
ended the show, and the doctor couldn't even get get a reply in at all.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided this guy is.
Do you remember a couple years ago there was no carnivore diet? And remember I first heard Dr. Baker was on Rogan. Well, there's some doctor that eats all meat on there. What the fuck? All meat? Now it's mainstream.
Yeah.
Now your best friend's doing it. Now, anyone I see on the streets, like, they're like, and that's why you're talking, people are running around bumping into each other. It's because they don't have enough carbohydrates in their body. Their brains shut down.
You're
They're
right.
on
Like, go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you
their
off.
brains have shut down. What I was saying earlier, like every cell in your body runs off of glucose, carbohydrates, sugar. And if you aren't getting enough, especially like women with the thyroid, like it just starts shutting things down. And these idiots are seeing this as, oh, I'm getting better. Like you're not, it's crazy. And it's the whole, I have abs, therefore I'm healthy.
I
No,
just
you
want
have
to
abs.
also, well, one of the things I was thinking was all the great bodybuilders who are vegan. So that's a logical fallacy. I have abs because I eat meat.
They
Okay.
just did a study. The meat industry did a study to debunk vegan protein sources, and they were not able to do it. All they did was prove that it was exactly the same. And I'm not here saying you're going to be, I won't even make claims like while there are studies that show vegans can be better athletes than carnivores, I'm not even going to say that. I'm just saying, because it's just a dumb argument. Because, oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. And it's like, dude, who cares? There's been plenty of studies. There's been twin studies where they put twins, one guy carnivore, one guy vegan, and they've done studies. And they're coming to the conclusion that there's really like no difference in like the short term, it's all long-term stuff. You're all, and if anything, vegans are able to stay more lean. Humans are supposed to be lean. We're not supposed to look like Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger, contrary to popular belief. It's disordered eating. A bodybuilder is as disordered as an anorexic. Like that is an eating disorder.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it's not healthy. It's as not healthy as anorexics. And it's funny. There's that anorexic lady that died a couple years ago that was vegan, you see it everywhere. All the Carnish show. She's like doing this and she's got like little skinny arms.
Yeah.
One vegan lady dies of anorexia 4 years ago. And these Carnish still shoving her picture in my face.
That's
how many
propaganda.
millions of Carnish have died in that time? Like, how does that make sense? And these guys I'm talking to are claiming to be intelligent. It's like and they're some of the smartest people are on my Facebook page that I talk to, that I've known for years. Once this subject goes up, all their brains go out the window. All their arguments it's all appeals to fucking bullshit, fallacy, nonsense. Oh, it's just better, like it's complete bullshit.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people need to learn is logical fallacies.
Yeah, Lou Bass needs to learn what a logical fallacy is. He only speaks in logical fallacy.
Huh.
I'm healing. because I'm skinny, I'm healing and I'm healthy. Nope. But
Yeah.
Lubass, this guy Lubass is one of my trolls. He was obese before, and he did lose a lot of weight during keto or carnivore. But again, it doesn't mean you did it the right way or the most ethical way or the safest way or the healthiest way. You can lose weight doing meth all day, like it's not.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, or drinking gin. I mean,
Almost
like,
all of these,
you know,
and almost all of these guys that are die-hard fat guys that get on the carnivore and start screaming about carnivore all day, they all end up going back to carbs, going back to all that stuff, and eating their stupid, sad diet again and gaining all the weight back. It's impossible not to binge eat. You can only stop eating carbs for so long. After that, you have to, you can't. Hypoglycemia is real. These people are acting like hypoglycemia doesn't exist. If you don't eat carbs, you will die eventually. Like all these carnivore dieters, they're waking up in the middle of the night. Their body's telling them, get up and go find fruit. There's not enough sugar in your body. Get up and go find fruit. Carnivore, Paul Saladino, carnivore doctor, stop doing carnivore because his fucking testosterone tanked. All these carnists telling me I have low testosterone. Turns out vegans have higher testosterone. Carnivores, testosterone is terrible.
So I know some carnivores, I won't say any names, who are taking some kind of drug to
They take all kinds of stuff.
They do. They all have
so many negative symptoms from carnivore that they take all kinds of shit. Not counting keto crotch. Gross.
I don't know.
If I was a woman, I would. I mean, that's a big I either have a disgusting, rotten, tasting, smelling crotch.
Is that what?
Or
that is?
I'm able to. It's like I could either be healthy, not have keto crotch on the vegan diet, or just eat a bunch of fucking corpse to where it's rotting out of every orifice in your body. That's fucking disgusting. So there's a YouTube. There's an Instagram called Carnivore Cringe. Everyone should check it out. It's vegans who watch carnivore pages, chat rooms and stuff, and they post all the side effects that carnivores are complaining about. And it is out of control crazy what these people are putting themselves through. Not shitting for a week.
Yeah. I've heard doctors
falling
talking
out,
about
not sleeping, testosterone tanking. There was a bodybuilder that was on carnivore and he had plateaued and he was going crazy. He has actually lost weight on carnivore. A bodybuilder guy, lost mass. He did on his channel. He showed getting back on carbs. He gained a shitload of muscle getting back on carbs. These guys are idiots. They don't understand. They think they're losing fat, but they're losing muscle glycogen. Muscle glycogen is muscle fuel. If you don't have riding, cycling, going on these rides, it's you're constantly drinking sugar to replenish your muscle glycogen so you can keep pushing. The only weight, there's been studies, the only weight you lose on carnivore is muscle glycogen, which is something you fucking need. You're basically neutering yourself, completely neutering yourself to just lose some weight. And you think, and you're eating all this fat and you're all, oh, I'm losing weight eating fat. And it's like, no, you're not. You're losing muscle glycogen. And these studies, these guys just deny all these studies. Oh, that's vegan propaganda. No, it's a fucking meta study on several studies over several countries over several years to tens and thousands of people. And then you ask them for some sort of evidence and they show us, the carnivore doctor, Dr. Baker, did a case study on some of his followers. And it's like, bro, you're comparing the highest form of science with the lowest form of science. And then if you've watched the trend in carnivore and you've watched all the carnivore influencers, almost all of them have quit. They found out it's not healthy. They've reintroduced carbs. They've reintroduced fruits and sugars. It's completely bullshit. We've all been trained to not eat sugar, but it's the thing we need the most. and it's the fat and the protein. We were told, oh, eat as much protein as you can, and people don't understand. Protein turns into fat if you don't use it. It's crazy.
Okay,
And
but
then
not
the fat is really hard to get off. Where carbs, you burn them like that, like instantly.
right. So it's not just any sugar. You don't want to just take a white sugar and pour it in your coffee. You're talking about sugar from fruits and stuff.
No, white sugar.
White sugar too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's I mean, I would say organic sugar, you know, but like white sugar is bleached in the sun. It is a sugar cane plant. They grind it, the juice comes out, and they dry it sometimes they'll filter it, and then they'll dry it in the sun. That's all the processing there is for sugar. Organic sugar, you know, they don't filter it as much. It's brown. So, and it's just dried out in the sun. And these people think that they're like in a lab mixing chemicals to make sugar. And like your friend, she kept saying, I'm addicted.
Right.
You're not addicted. It's it's the fuel your body's meant to run off of. It's not an addiction. Sugar is not a drug. Never in history has any scientist said sugar is a drug. It is a carbohydrate, which is the most efficient form of fuel for humans. It is not an addiction. Fat is an addiction. Meat is an addiction. Like you said, once you stop, you know, your palate changes and you don't want it anymore. Your palate never changes against fruit. You don't stop eating fruit for a while and go back to it and you want to throw up. Like that's not how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot to chew on. Okay. So,
but I wouldn't worry about how other people are affected by veganism. You know, it's their problem if they have a problem with it, because they just hate us because we're reminding them of their immoral behavior. Without vegans, these dudes would just be going nuts, you know, not knowing that they're doing something wrong.
it is weird. People really do get triggered, and it's almost like it's hard to bring up, or it's hard to go to a restaurant with anybody because we get belittled. You know,
Constantly.
I just tell people, you know, I just tell people,
Like anyone around me will tell people I'm vegan. I'm like, I didn't say that. You know, I'm not announcing it to everyone that I fucking meet, but it's like they make a big deal about it. And then they feel like just your existence, you're judging them, you know, like, they can't deal with the interaction without feeling like you're judging them, whether you are or not. And we can't exist, you know, like our existence, you know, like just reminds them of that, and that they're doing something wrong, and that they think we're judging them when we aren't half the time.
Yeah. So, you know, I hope Christa didn't leave in a bad mood. I mean, I thought that everything that the show that we three did was very, you know, we were all respecting each other.
I said, because it's all true. And I think that's why I think she was a little upset.
I could tell.
She should be. Because everything I said was true. You know, like she is kind of in her own world right now, believing a lot of her own bullshit.
People can't just have a conversation anymore. She's the one who brought up
the best vegan conversation I've had. You know, like she was very calm. We were, you know, like that was.
She brought up having two different you know, thought processes and perspectives, and she brought up we should be okay with that, but she left kind of not okay, it seemed like. And I thought everyone was really respectful. We were just talking. I don't
like hearing information that I don't like hearing, you know. Like it's sucks hard when you find out something that you believed in isn't true, you know. It definitely can affect you, especially if you're a truthful person to yourself. There's so many people that just don't care. I don't fucking care, you know, like I don't care about anything. She cares, so it affected her, which is a good sign. I don't believe her when she says she has no problem killing her animals. I don't believe her in the least bit.
I don't either.
No, because she would by her conversation, you know, like she proved that she's not some psycho who just doesn't feel anything when she kills animals, you know, or else she would be like Lubass right here. Lubass, he kills his own animals. He says he loves his animals and he kills them. So, and he doesn't give a shit. I believe him. He's an actual psycho, you know, like he's a narcissist psycho. Your friend, I don't think she is. I just think your friend has been caught up in this whole scene of like, oh, prepping and living off grid and making all your own food at home, and like this appeal to nature that is a fallacy. Just because it happened in nature doesn't mean it's the right way. You know, we know that by animals killing each other. Like, appealing to nature and going back to nature isn't necessarily, you're not changing the world. You're not, you know, yes, you're creating an ideal situation, you think, for yourself, but it's at the detriment of everyone else, and it's not sustainable for everyone. Everyone can't go live off grid. You know, there's just not enough space.
Well,
So it's like, why not set yourself in motion in the direction of the truth and true change, instead of just being, it's like believing in the two-party paradigm, being like, oh, I'm an anarchist, but I vote Republican, you know? It's like, okay, you're an idiot. Like, you're still contributing to the problem instead of setting yourself in a direction of change and representing it, you know, as a real human. So many people just believe whatever their political party. Oh, I gotta, and especially in the vegan scene, like I interview a lot of liberal vegans, and I try and talk to all of them about how detrimental the two-party paradigm is to animals. You know, like we're never going to get through. If you're representing yourself as a liberal, we're never going to get through to conservatives. You know, they're never going to listen. I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in either. So they'll listen a little bit to me. Be like, oh, well, this is interesting. What does this guy have to say? And I know I have enough interesting rhetoric that I could keep, you know, most person. But if I went in as a lib vegan, oh, fucking, they won't even listen, you know? Like, I used to be conservative leaning, so I can touch, you know, I can get into those, and dudes are always baffled. Like, I did the debates with a farmer, and the guy opened up the chat later, and everyone just thought I was a liberal, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I'll fucking out debate you under the table on anything, you know? Like, these guys caught in the two-party paradigm, completely brainwashed by the government and the media to thinking that there's only two ways of thinking.
Right.
You know, you can't, and if you don't eat animals, then you're a lib, you know?
I was
like, if you don't vote, then you're a lib. You know, you're just helping the libs if you don't vote, or you're just helping Trump if you don't vote. It's like, it's such a dumb shit. It's such a slave mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I mention anything about California, or if I mention like
burn that place down, nuke California, nuke all those libs. Okay, right.
But like one time I mentioned an NPC. I mentioned on Facebook NPC, and a lot of my listeners, you know, they don't know what an NPC is. And then it came out like, oh, it's something Trumpsters use. I'm like, dude, you guys are like children.
So it's childish. Childish.
Yeah,
and that's what shadow work's all about. Shadow work
is going to bring up and being honest with yourself. You mentioned it. You got to be honest with yourself first, and that means not believing anything.
You got to admit that there's a problem, and you got to be honest with yourself, and you have to make the decision to change, and you need to constantly work in that direction. It's not something you get overnight. You know, it's not something you get from watching some Mark Passio videos. It's a personal internal thing. And it's personal in the aspects of you have to do it yourself, but it's not personal in the aspect of you're doing it all alone. Your community can call you out. It's called forced shadow work. If you are acting inappropriately or against natural law or against truth in your daily life, and the people around you see it and you don't see it, you should be called out publicly. Public ostracization. It's all we have in an anarchist society. All we have is our word and our reputation. So if you're doing wrong and not doing shadow work and affecting people around you negatively, you should expect to be called out ruthlessly by the people around you that are in line with the truth.
I think a lot of people can't look at themselves, and that's why they can't even handle someone else's perspective or opinion, or even a fact that goes against what they believe. And
It's Dunning-Kruger effect. People think because
yeah,
they learn a little bit that they're just a fucking master genius god at everything, but they really don't know shit. And like, you know, like if you're not into morality and natural law or fucking some sort of spirituality, like you're just, what purpose do you have? You're just pointing at the government, complaining. You're just saying it's everyone else's fault, that your life is not where it's at or not where you want it to be, or you're not fucking, you know, whatever. Like it's complete horseshit.
one of the things about people needing people, and we all are in this together, is you can go off the grid and pretend like you're alone, but you're gonna need a snowmobile, and who's gonna make the parts for your snowmobile? You know, you're gonna need a truck.
Yes.
And other people are gonna make the parts for your truck. We really are in this together. You can't just go like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out here and do the best for me." It's
And it's just it's an extreme. Like it's fine if you want to go live off grid, you know, as long as you're doing great work and you're, you know, trying to save the world from there, you know, but going and just doing this individual, I'm purely here to self-serving, you know, like I'm gonna have a bunch of farm animals and just slaughter them all day, you know, just to have this off-grid experience, so I can feel like I'm an off-gridder and that I'm actually doing this is cool. You know, it's all this self-serving bullshit, you know, and it's like I live off-grid, but I'm not fucking killing animals because I'm out here, you know, like I'm trying to do as much to help and teach and learn as possible while I'm out here. I'm not just out here, you know, just doing my little world and ignoring the rest of the world, because that's not helping us. That's Satanism. That's complete fucking selfish bullshit. And we're all so fucking selfish. Oh my God.
Yeah. Something I wanted to say. So as far as just forgot what I was going to say.
It happens.
But it's not to okay. So it's not to say that, you know, we shouldn't be self-sufficient as a species. We need to get what we need to do is get off of the
taxation
the
system, the tax slave
government.
system. Yeah. Agorism is a fine art of eliminating the government out of your life. Once you figure out voluntarism and anarchy, agorism should be the next thing.
I don't know what that is.
Agorism is stop allowing yourself to be taxed any chance you have. Stop bending over and allowing them to take money from you and drop bombs on people. Stop buying new fucking cars all the time. Stop. The materialism is the worst part. Materialism fuels taxation. Taxation goes towards hell on earth. War, factory farming. Government subsidizes factory farms like insane amounts. And the only places we have hell on earth is in war and factory farms, and we subsidize them both with our tax dollars by allowing ourselves to get brainwashed into the two-party paradigm, thinking our neighbors are fucking enemies. You know, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit propaganda that we need to work out of. We need to unlearn this stuff. But agorism is very important. It's how we actually make a difference. You know, veganism is agorism. Veganism, you know, because the state subsidized. The only way the meat and dairy industry survives is because of subsidies, because it doesn't make it's economically psychotic to grow animals to eat. It costs too much to grow an animal. You'll never recoup it. Therefore, the government has to pay subsidies. It's absolutely nuts. And all these truthers, carnist Carnist truthers, carnivore truthers. I'm like, dudes, you dudes are complaining about welfare. You're the biggest welfare recipients. You're eating the most subsidized diet available to man. And
Wow.
then you're like telling, you're complaining that like people get food stamps and shit.
I just went yesterday and spent the day at the welfare office, and I'm gonna now get $101 a month.
Good. They've fucking bled money from you your whole fucking life. You should take back every dollar you can get from them.
I should.
Fuck
I know.
them.
That's how I feel about that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Damn right. And any idiot that says that you're fucking dumb for taking money from the government is a fucking moron. They've been robbing us. They've created these fucking this awful environment, this environment where we're minutes from fucking being homeless at any time. Like we've had to deal with so much bullshit from them, and they've stolen so much of our labor and money from us. Fucking take anything you can get from them. They still owe us so much more than whatever you can get from them.
And going back to consumerism and taxation and always wanting to buy a new car and stuff like that, you see these a lot of like men and like middle-aged men, they want to go buy a sports car. It's all selfish. It's all about image. And
it's
like they don't have anything real. They don't have anything substantial inside, and so they have to go buy.
They've been going to school and working their whole lives. In our 20s, we're supposed to be doing high risk behavior. We're supposed to be going out being crazy, so we get it out of our system, so then we can chill out for the rest of our lives. But this system trains us all from birth. They basically throw us in jail in school. And we're never able to do this high risk behavior. We're never able to meet our shadow. We're supposed to meet our shadow. You're supposed to meet how dark you are. You're supposed to learn how dark you could be and then control it. But you're not able to do that if your life is completely controlled by the state. And when you go to work and go to school and that's all you do in college and everything, you're never able to meet your dark side. So it comes out in really fucking bad ways.
Or that could be religion too. If you've always been controlled by religion.
Absolutely. Any form of control from anywhere.
So what would you say?
Especially religion, because they're so coddling and so, you are so restricted, I guess. You're never able to meet your dark side.
So people who like they live off the grid and they think that they are like not looking for a savior outside of themselves, but they still are looking for a savior from hell or a savior from
it's fear. Government and religion, it's all about fear. That's how they control everyone. And fear is how we're controlled on the daily. We're fearful of rejection from the people around us. Fear's gnarly. Fear makes us retarded.
Okay, exactly.
But I should probably go and take a little breather.
Yeah, okay. I'm so glad you came on the show today.
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
You should come hang out on my show sometime.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'll send you an invite next time.
Okay. Heck yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Jeffrey Phillips live on a Zoom. Well, it was a Zoom roundtable. It turned into a what is it called again? StreamYard. A StreamYard chat. And thank you so much. And yeah, definitely keep in touch.
Anybody wants to watch the next debate I'm doing, you could find me at youtube.com/Jeffrey Phillips. This stream is staying going, at least on my page, and I'll be in a half hour. I'll be debating one of the biggest carnivore influencers that exists.
Yeah, I'm going to tune in for that.
Cool. Well,
okay.
See ya.
All right, Cheryl, and we're gonna go out with this commentary about education from Travis T. Hip.
Sick.
Educational industrial complex with some.
All right, so next Next debate's at 2 p.m. 40 minutes, 44 minutes.
Adult
I got
Americans.
to leave a comment. Nope, that's the banner. Next debate is in at 2 p.m.
Ron Paul's whole thing. Yeah, I get it. I spent whatever. Anyway,
Well,
the point is, what are we going to do about it individually? And then next,
you know, out of about the 7 years that I've been doing this publicly and going out on the
I just
streets and
asked
talking to
Will.
people,
I just
huge
asked
body
Will
of
if
people
aliens
actually
are coming to
agree
save
with
us.
me when I start talking about, you know, the immorality and the illegitimacy of government. They start, oh yeah, I don't trust the government. They
It's
start,
all
they agree
government.
with on all these aspects. But as soon as you start entering into the philosophical and the moral realm of it shouldn't exist, it doesn't have the right to exist, etc., then people start to squirm itself. So, you know, a lot of people they pride themselves on being black pilled, but that's absolutely not where we want to be. We need to understand how the governing dynamics of change truly operate. And we need to get down to that philosophical level, which most people aren't willing. Most people don't have the capacity to do that. And as a content creator, a public speaker, this is our job to try to convey this information, inspire and influence people to look again.
well, it goes back to those layers of world view.
Yes.
And, you know, it's interesting because when I was going through Mark Passio's podcast and all of his episodes, I'm like, well, there's nobody better to tell it than him. Nobody better. I should just send everybody there, send everybody there, send everybody there. And now I do get it, because the discussion is what needs to take place. You can have the data, but we have to discuss it and process it. And I think that that's more than anything what I need to do in terms of what I can give back, because this is in no way what I'm saying. I do want the output. I'm very results oriented. I want to know what I need to do and go do it. The processing part is what I'm very weak at. That is my self re-inspecting, that I don't want to process. I don't want to take the time. I just want to go do it, because that's the area I don't want to look at. And so I'm intentionally making this time to be a processing time, to be the digestion processing rhetoric part, right? This is the process of, I don't know. I am looking at all these and trying to sort this out and bringing people on that I can have these discussions with. And you had mentioned, so let's look at correspondence, but then I want to look at what somebody should read. Let's say, for example, homework assignment. If you haven't listened to the Kabbalion or read the Kabbalion, right? Super simple. It's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour read. That would be worth reading. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's a great primer.
Okay. So to me, I'm still looking for that end all be all. Give me the answer. What's that about?
You already know it.
Well, help me process it, because maybe I know it, but I'm burying it. And I'm trying to rabbit from that, because it's very uncomfortable, because I don't want to look there, because I am terrified at this planet and what's going on. And yeah. So
Yeah.
help me unpack that, Will.
Sure, absolutely. You know, when you talked about like the processing stage, and you and I kind of met off one of the presentations that I did, rites
That's
of
right.
passage, where I dive deep into the liminal space, where that is the processing stage. That is where the work is done. And, you know,
I forgot that. Thank you. I needed that reminder. I need to go back and
Well,
review that episode.
I bring that up just because it's very common in these discussions. Well, when you're talking with other people that are, you know, taking this information in for the first time, and, you know, talking about the control structure and self-governance, they really want to know all the details of, okay, well, how would society operate with this? What about the roads? What about this? And, you know, the handicapped and etc. That is, you know, their ego and their mind trying to make sense of this profound paradigm shift that you have just put on the table. And so that processing phase. But what they're doing when they are looking for those justifications, they're looking for an excuse not to consider the information that you have laid before them, right? So that, well, before I even entertain that thought of, you know, no government, give me all these reasons. The reason is that government is illegitimate. It is immoral, right? It's based on violence and deception. What more do you need? As far as all the details of how a self-governing society would look like, that's up for discussion. You know, we can entertain that and go down that road. But first and foremost, the here and now, we are enslaved. We are being violated. So what are we going to do about it? You're very much taking action in that solution.
So this concept of you are enslaved, there's an immediate polarization that's created. So let's get into that. Okay. Let's get into polarization. And then let's also get into rhythm, because a couple of things you said made me think of the principle of rhythm. And yeah, I think you could probably simplify that profound.
For sure. What was the first one that you wanted me to talk about?
Well, specifically the polarity of like, okay,
oh yeah,
you're slave, we're enslaved. Well, what's the opposite of that? Then there's a master.
For sure. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. It's a very triggering statement.
Yes, it is.
But that's kind of the folly of it, right? Unslaving yourself obviously starts in the mind, and that is through knowledge and education. So in a society and the human condition built upon mind control, and mind control being so prevalent and important to the control structure itself.
Give me some typical mainstream words instead of mind control, so that we can really understand this. Because mind control, then immediately, that's another polarizing statement.
Sure.
Your mind control, that means like, no, it's as simple as you wake up and you want to scroll on your phone. Do you not get that that's basically mind control? But we aren't going to say that. You're just basically addicted to whatever. Right? So just throw out some examples so that folks can relate and go, oh yeah, oh, I do see that. I do see that.
Manipulation, deception, obfuscation, euphemisms. Those are all words that kind of go hand in hand with mind control. Again, mind control is one of those words. Even government itself, right? Yes, there is a moral, correct government, and that is self-governance, right? To control the mind. Okay, well, what's the context and the condition? I have government over myself. I control my own mind. I am the master mind controller within myself, in my very being and essence. But when we talk about, external mind control, I agree with you. We need to be a little more descriptive in that. But so, yeah, manipulation. This is a classic technique that has been used for millennia, for eons, right?
All for the purpose of controlling another,
That's
which is
correct.
in and of itself immoral.
Yep, it's action at a distance. It's seeds, right? They're in my upcoming presentation, Symbiosis. I talk about the larva of loathing, right? Larva. So they're just dropping, they are influencing and suggesting certain things that get you to believe a certain way and then ultimately take certain actions. For instance, parents do this all the time, right? You can talk about Santa Claus is a good one that I talk about, right? Majority of people talk about, oh, well, there's this man, he's observing your actions and your behaviors, so you better be good. If you're not, then you
Right.
won't get gifts, right? And then the kids get to a certain age, they realize it was just a story, it was just a lie, it was just mind control,
Okay.
right? And then they
Yep.
grow up and they do it to their children as well.
Yeah.
Public
And so
school.
leaders can do this in the way their jobs, they hold their evaluation over the heads, if they're going to get laid off, all of this. I see it
Trump recently.
all of that. Yeah, all of that.
20,
Yes,
30
exactly.
times saying it's the golden age. We're bringing back the golden age. So using certain
Okay.
words and phrases.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
All comes back to mentalism,
It all come back. It does. And
the availability of information.
right.
Because
Okay.
if you can control that level, that availability of information, that is where the mind control, grows and breeds. And
What do you
really
think of
affects the most change.
completely cutting off? What do you feel, let's say, for example, that health-wise, mental health-wise, of completely eliminating any, just like basically going off and being free of all information and just going and processing? Or is that basically turning the other direction and now ignoring and being willfully ignorant in this day and age anyway?
Well, I think, detaching from, maybe social media and the nonstop, compounding of, BS and information out there. If you're doing that healthy, meaning it's a phase of introspection, which I do this time to time. If I take in a great body of information, I need that time to kind of detach, garden, do whatever, but I'm processing that information, right? I'm taking that time of contemplation. That is important. If you're talking about completely detaching and like moving to the woods and out of sight, out of mind type of, philosophy, that absolutely is not healthy. That is not healthy.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so let's go back then to polarity, because my understanding of polarity, and I liken this to my experience with the yin yang symbol, right? The black and white, that juxtaposition. But within that is the construct of this plane, this human plane. But if you step outside of that, you are no longer the effect of that you can actually see that pendulum swing from the polarity of one side to the other, and also the rhythm, and then you can actually exteriorize from that. No?
Sure. Conceptually?
Empirically? Effectively?
Well,
strategically?
Yeah, they're both at work. So if, like non-dualism and duality, they both exist, right? We are affected in duality in this human experience, but we are all interconnected as one, meaning what each individual does influences the whole, and it affects the local environment as well, right? So there is this non-dual and dual aspect. In the Kybalion, they say all truths are but half truths, but then all paradoxes will be reconciled. That's what it is referring to. It is referring to dualism, the yin and the yang, and then the non-dual aspect of it's all one system together. So people call that the law of one. So how is this applicable in, for an average person in this day and age? Well, I kind of already mentioned it. The problems of the world, the human condition, it's so big and it's such a huge task. What can I do? What does my involvement really matter? Right? It matters because we are all interconnected, and what you do on a day-to-day basis influences the environment and influences the whole. So it very much matters. So there's understanding the dual and non-dual aspects. Polarity is great because something that someone should really look into further, because you can really apply that to all levels, especially within your own behavior and psychological makeup, right? If you are polarized to one extreme or another, nature, the middle path, the balance, the symbiosis is always in the middle of that gradient of polarity. So this is why there's a left and a right for political parties, Republican, Democrat. They want to keep people in the extremes on the outer levels.
This guy's talking about,
because when you do that, you're out of balance. You're more easily controlled.
So you said you quoted from the Kabbalion that there's no truth. There's only half truths.
All truth is but half truth. All paradoxes may be reconciled. That phrase, it's green language in occultism. So just as we talked about, I think it was last episode, when you capitalize the first letter in truth, it's talking about objective absolute truth. Lowercase would be more subjective or relative. So that phrase, that little passage right there, it's using green language. You have to understand what it really means and decode its meaning.
Decode it for us.
Well, it was pretty much just as I was saying. So it applies to both non-dual and dual. So
an example again.
Well, we'll look at truth, right? You have two people standing face to face, and one person says, "Oh, the number on the ground is a 9," and the other person says, "No, it's a 6," because they're on opposite sides and they're fighting over that. Well, what is the truth? Sure, from one's perspective, correct because it's based in truth. It is a 9, and the other person is correct, which is based in truth. It is a 6, but the objective truth is two people are looking at a number. It's just a number on the ground. So all truths may be reconciled, meaning our perception and our worldview is subjective to our experience, but the truth, the objective truth exists outside of our worldview, and it's for us to decode that and understand that and align our behaviors with that correctly.
That was an incredible explanation that addressed a confusion that I had around that when I read that, because it went back into that vagueness that all truths but a relative, basically.
Yes.
So that does make sense. And so it goes back to that concept that they're the nesting dolls, or the circle within the circle within the circle. Where are we looking at this from? If we are inside the box, we can't see what's going on. This is really, really interesting.
That's a really good point. What you just said, you have to ask yourself, where are you on the spectrum of polarity? And you have to look at yourself with care and respect and honesty, right?
So I remember in the book, they said you don't have to. Those that can master this and be adept at being outside of that, they master it, where they do not have to be the effect of that polarity of that. Or I think it was more rhythm. I don't know that it was in polarity, but it was in rhythm for sure, where that will swing back and forth. They hit 2 balls and 2 balls come back, 3 and 3 come back, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
what you were just talking about, this is very common in a lot of the mystery traditions, is it's a process of analyzing your thoughts.
I just got an email from Natasha Campbell McBride saying, "Oh, I'm in the UK. I thought 2 p.m. was my time." Ah, boy. So I guess I'm rescheduling with her. Ugh. How did I know something was going to come up? At least we got the earlier one done. I guess I will vegan debate Christa the Carnivore. How annoying. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna have to reschedule. I'll let you guys know. Fucking sucks. Yeah. UK's 8 hours ahead, so it would be 8, 9. Yeah, it's like 10. Fucking jank. I kind of want to almost do my presentation anyway, but I want to wait till I have her. She's a big fish. Fucking A, man. That sucks. Wah, wah, wah. Too bad. Well, save the change. I'll let you guys know. Catch you later. Peace.
Cheers to the people who did wake up and activate and become peers in the great work. Nothing but admiration and thanks. And this forced shadow work has not been for you. It has been for those who did not respond to the fucking call of freedom. And you guys already know that. I don't even need to repeat that. But I will say with my Vienna lager here, cheers to the people who really did the great work. The ones who really activated, the ones who spoke out, the ones who put the message of freedom publicly out into the world through the creation, the creative expression that came from within themselves to publish and communicate it to those in need of that knowledge. You're my brothers and sisters, and you're my peers in the great work, and thank you. To every